This brewing method is one that uses a combination of pour over and steeping. It was a suggestion from someone in our community and we are going to use it today. Here is the Clever Coffee Dripper. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the Brew channel. I am Hurston and I'll be your guide as we look to find new and improved ways to brew whatever we brew better. This channel covers coffee, tea, and infusion beverages, and today we're going to be talking about another piece of hardware, the Clever Coffee Dripper. So this is very new to me. I was not even aware of this method of brewing coffee until one of our subscribers actually made a comment, and I'm going to drop the comment right here, and recommended that we take a look at this brewing method. And so I looked it up. It seemed pretty cool. It's incredibly affordable. And I thought to myself, why not try it? So I haven't even taken it out of the box. Again, an unboxing video, but we're gonna take a look at what comes in the box for this particular version of the Clever Coffee Dripper. Just know that depending on which version and from what manufacturer you purchase it, the contents in the box may be a little bit different, but we're gonna go ahead and open this up and see what's inside of it. So like I was saying before, the Clever Coffee Dripper is interesting in that it combines both a pour over technique as well as, hold on, let me get into the box. A pour over technique as well as kind of a steeping technique. So in this particular box, like we typically see, we have some instructions. Fantastic. It is one card of instructions. I love that. That's going to make things a lot easier to work their way through. This appears to be some type of quality control sheet. And this is, looks like care and maintenance. So yeah, they're talking about not only how to use the device, but also just general care and maintenance to make sure that you're able to use it for the longest period of time possible. So cool. This particular one came with filters in the box. That's great. I think it's probably around 100 filters in here. So that's cool that it already came with the filters. And if you need to get some new filters, I believe that this device uses a number 4, and you'll want to look for one with kind of a flat bottom to it. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus on that. I mean, it's still in the wrapper. There it is. So you see how it has the flat bottom? Sometimes you can get cones that have kind of a point to them. If you remember in my Chemex video, those particular filters had kind of a cone shape and a point to them at the end of it. All right. So this is where the magic, proverbial magic, happens. This is the actual Clever Coffee Dripper. Inside of it, they dropped another card, and this might actually be a sticker, so that's pretty cool. And the sticker actually shows, let me see if I can get it to focus on the sticker here. There it is. The sticker kind of shows the process for brewing, just to kind of reiterate what the one-sheeter instruction manual as well as the care guide showed us. So that's pretty cool. So this is an interesting device, and let me kind of explain why that is. It does in fact allow you to kind of pour the hot water from your kettle into here, of course, after you've gotten one of your filters in and you've wet the filter just a bit to get a better seal. Then you actually put your grounds inside of the filter, and then you pour the hot water into the top of this. So you start very much so like a pour over, but then you have to allow it time to kind of infuse. And in doing that, it now shifts into kind of a steeping mode. And so there's one other device that I have that's very similar to this that's used specifically for tea. The difference between the two devices is that the one for tea has kind of a really fine mesh bottom, and it's not intended to be used with an additional filter. And so that's where they differ, but the idea, the technology behind the idea actually works very similar. I'm going to take out the other components, and then we're going to take a deeper look at how to use this. I believe that this is the lid for the dripper. In doing some of the research that I've done for how to use this, because again, this is really new to me as a brewing technique, those that I saw using it didn't really use the lid too much. In most cases, they left the lid off as it was brewing. And according to those individuals, it didn't necessarily yield any better results by putting the lid on it. But of course, like in any instance, it's good to have a lid to kind of complete the profile of the actual device. So that's pretty cool. And then lastly, in the box, we have what I believe is like a plate for sitting after the brewing has taken place. And so once you've completed brewing, with whatever it is that you've put in here, your coffee or infusion beverage, if it's one that's similar to coffee, a coffee alternative, we'll be talking about those too. Then once it's done brewing, you'll actually just set it on here. Now, what you'll notice, and I need to hold this up to the camera so you can see this, this device has these little feet on the bottom, right? And so these feet are essentially what controls the triggering mechanism. So there's this little loose mechanism at the bottom. And what that does is that when after you've put in your coffee, of course, you've put in your filter first, moisten the filter, drop the coffee in, poured in your hot water or poured it over, and it's had its adequate steep time. You then place this on a cup or a mug or a glass or whatever you consume your coffee from, and the actual coffee just drops down into the cup. It's a really cool process when you think about it. And relatively quick to do. The only thing that you're really taking time for is boiling the water and then allowing it time to steep and infuse into the coffee grounds. One of the other things that I didn't mention that you'll probably want to do that I did in the Chemex is that once the coffee is actually inside of the unit, now, since I've shot the Chemex video, I've done some more research, and I found that there's a couple of different ways that you can agitate the ground so that all of them get moistened. One, you can stir, like I showed in the Chemex video, or you can do a swirl. It kind of depends on what you want to do. James Hoffman, who is, a legend in this space, prefers the swirl. I think that does something about kind of aerating it as well, or maybe it just keeps that swirling motion maybe keeps the grounds consistent. I'm not 100% sure. But you can also just use a spoon and do kind of a swipe in one motion and then a swipe in a reverse motion to get a little stir going. You just want to make sure that all your grounds are moistened so that you get the best infusion possible. But that's really all there is to this device. It's relatively simple, just as the gentleman who recommended it suggested. It's a very simplistic device. It doesn't have a lot of extra moving parts. And it already kind of combines a couple of different methods that we've looked at. So here in a second, we're actually going to go ahead and brew with this thing. And again, we're going to be brewing with Drive Coffee. I'm going to drop a link in the description below. Drive is a cool brand. I am not sponsored by them yet. What up, Drive? But Drive Coffee has a multitude of different beans, flavor profiles, and types, all based off of kind of an automotive or driving theme, which is why their coffee is in these cool little oil looking cans. More on that to come, because you'll actually see me brewing some of their products in some videos that are coming up. So hang tight if you want to check them out, with regards to me brewing with them. But if you want to go ahead and look at their website and maybe even grab a can of beans, by all means, please do so. But for now, let's get to the clever coffee dripper in action. All right, so now we're brewing with the clever coffee dripper. As I stated before, the very first thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and put our filter in, and we want to moisten our filter just a bit. We want it to have a significantly better seal than if we just left the filter kind of standing in there and then did everything with the coffee. Also, when we do this with adding a little water to the filter, it also rinses the filter a little bit too, so it kind of removes some of the maybe paper taste that comes with filters. Per, again, James Hoffman, so great recommendation. All right, so I believe that I mentioned before in the earlier parts of this video that we would, of course, put the filter in and we moisten it, and we still continue to do that. But one of the things that has changed, because I continue to do research, just like you all, I'm learning too, I found a video that suggested that instead of actually putting in the grounds after the fact, that you moisten the filter, make sure that it's got a really good seal to it, and then you actually pour the hot water in it first. And that was a very interesting approach. The thought behind doing that first before you put your grounds in is that if you do that, it will reduce the amount of time it takes for the beverage to actually infuse, and therefore getting you your coffee faster. I like the idea of getting the coffee faster, so that's what we're doing. We've gone ahead and we've put our filter in and we've moistened it. After we did that, we went ahead and started to pour our water into the Clever coffee dripper. Now that that water is sitting in there, of course it is hot. We want to make sure that it is boiling, so you'll want it to be set at the highest setting for your kettle if your kettle has settings. And then we want to spoon in the coffee. Now that the coffee has been spooned in, we're actually going to go and stir the coffee to agitate it a bit, a couple of times in one direction and a couple of times in the opposite direction. And then we just want to sit and give this thing time to brew. As it's infusing, you're probably looking at about a 3 to 5 minute window of time. It's going to actually have that coffee mix really well with that boiling hot water. And then once that is done, you'll take your Clever coffee dripper and set it atop your particular mug of choice or glass of choice that you're going to be drinking from. And that coffee should then just drop right into your mug. So in reviewing the video for this particular technique, they suggested it this way too, so that your actual coffee would go into your mug a lot faster. And honestly, anything that's going to allow us to save time, I'm definitely down for doing that. And so that's it. Once you're done with your beverage going into your glass, you set your Clever coffee dripper off to the side and you enjoy your beverage. All right, so that is it. Brewing with the Clever coffee dripper. It's a relatively easy process, and so this is going to be a relatively short video. It's got pretty simple cleanup. You remove the filter and the coffee grounds, drop those in the trash, and then quickly go over and rinse your Clever coffee dripper. It's going to be important that you do this as close to the time as you've finished using the device, just to make sure that the fragrances, the flavors and things of that nature don't kind of seep into the plastic, because this device is made out of plastic, not glass. Even if it was glass, you would still want to clean it relatively quickly, but you have less of a chance of having it, the different scents and things from different coffees mixing into glass as opposed to plastic, which is a little bit more porous. So take care of that as soon as you possibly can, and the cleanup is done. It's simple. You spend most of your time waiting for the water to boil, to be honest. So this is a really good device to use if you're wanting that kind of pour over style technique, that kind of flavor profile, but you're wanting to get it done in significantly less time than it would take to maybe set up a Chemex or the V60, which is actually the next device that we're going to be taking a look at. Again, one more pour over device for us to review as a brewing method for coffee and or coffee-esque beverages. That statement will make way more sense in the near future, I promise you. But we're going to take a look at the V60. It's a classic method of brewing. It's been out for a long period of time. The big thing about the V60 is that it's very similar to the Chemex in that it is a pour over technique that has kind of immediate infusion into the coffee, and then it pours down into your cup. But it mixes kind of the best of both worlds with what we just witnessed with the Clever dripper filter, and that it allows the beverage to go right into the glass. And so still using the pour over technique, we're going to break out the gooseneck kettle again to make sure that we have as much control over the water as possible in this process. But you can just put it atop your glass or a craft if you have that, and it'll allow you, or it'll allow you to properly brew your coffee in its final location and destination. And hopefully that makes for a relatively easy cleanup as well. Again, I'm trying to find devices that are both inexpensive but also have a relatively quick cleanup, because I know for a lot of us, if you're having to get to work right after brewing your coffee and you don't have a ton of time to get it done, this is a way to do it, to get really good flavor out of your coffees and really enjoy the caffeinating experience, as opposed to just having to be an arbitrary part of your day. We want to make sure that in everything that we're doing, we're working our way towards getting the best out of what it is that we brew. So hopefully in this video, you learned about a new brewing technique. I know I did. You enjoyed the video, you got something out of it, you found something that you could potentially use in your own home or at work or wherever it is that you brew. I hope that you learned something with this video. I hope that you feel empowered to go out and grab it and maybe even try brewing with it yourself. And lastly, I hope that you feel inclined to go and teach someone else about this device, or even recommend it to a friend or family member who also loves coffee, tea, and infusion beverages, with the hopes that whatever they brew, they are now going to brew better. Until the next video, peace.